Hi everybody, welcome back to the Retro Ghetto. So I've seen a lot of videos lately going around on YouTube talking about how expensive video game collecting is in 2023, and let's be honest, they're not wrong. It has become very expensive, or it certainly can be. Often I'm seeing advice given about systems that you can still purchase for at a relatively reasonable price, which is also sound advice. I made a video myself a few years back now looking at some of those consoles and advising that now is definitely the time to buy for those systems. However, what I wanted to do today was to give you guys one of the tips that I utilise to still collect for what are the more expensive video games out there. This is a tip which is not necessarily revolutionary or groundbreaking, but it's definitely one I don't think is utilised enough. It's definitely one that I don't think I hear enough people speaking about. And if I'm being honest, I've thought about making this video for quite a long time, but it's only my own selfishness which has stopped me. I didn't want more people out there to compete with against winning these items, which ultimately makes collecting for the more expensive systems, in my case the 16-bit systems of the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo, a lot more affordable. We're going to dig into that today. I'm going to share with you exactly how it is that I go about getting these items and how I managed to get them for much cheaper than market value. We're going to be highlighting 3 examples in particular, 2 of which I've only opened literally 5 minutes before the recording of this video, so I've never shown them on my channel before. Okay, so before I get into the first example today, I should probably tell you guys specifically what it is that I've been doing. I've been trying to buy video games box only, preferably with a manual, but more so the box, and I'm going to show you guys exactly the benefits of doing so. One of these examples has actually saved me over £100 by doing this method. The first example of which I'm going to be looking at is this brand new edition of Ghoul Patrol. This is a 1994 run and gun developed by LucasArts, and it's the sequel to Zombies Ate My Neighbours, and by all accounts it isn't quite as good. This game describes itself as outrageous 360-degree shoot-'em-up action, and I think that describes it quite well. Super Nintendo is a prime example when it comes to collecting for things separately and buying a box and manual only. In this case it does have both the box and the manual, simply because with Nintendo Cardboard it clearly hasn't aged that well. When Super Nintendo games were being released, I don't think Nintendo were forward thinking about collectors sitting here in 2023 trying to create the best condition possible to display them in the backgrounds of their YouTube videos. Ultimately, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. I'm going to break down for you now exactly what I paid and how much money I've saved by doing this. So I paid £30 posted for this box and manual. If I go onto the CEX and buy the cart only, that's £20. Ignoring the fact that I could potentially buy that with vouchers, so therefore it'll cost me even less than £20, we're just going to call it £20 for the purpose of this video. That totals us at £50. CEX are currently charging £95 for this game box. That's a saving of £45. If that wasn't proof enough, let's take a look at another one. Okay, so next up, and another one of the games that I've literally opened 5 minutes before the recording of this video, and that is Boogerman, a point-and-flick adventure. This is a 2D platformer by Interplay Productions, and in this 1995 release it features character names such as Professor Stinkbomb, a location called the Takey Dump, and a dimension excrement, which I think tells you all you need to know about this 90s based toilet humour platformer. One of the driving factors of me making this video now was that I had an example of both a Super Nintendo and a Mega Drive game to show. Mega Drive box only comes up a lot less frequently than Super Nintendo Cardboard does, simply because it's a lot better made in many ways, right? And they tend to stay as a package more so than Super Nintendo games, which often get separated from the cart and the box, which all too often has ended up in the bin over the 30 years since their release. So it's definitely a lot less likely that you will find Mega Drive box only listings. However, as you can see, it does happen from time to time. Also, as opposed to their Super Nintendo counterparts, condition tends to be less of a worry with these. They've definitely aged a lot better than Super Nintendo games, right? So this Boogerman, a point-and-flick adventure box and manual, cost me £16 posted, and you can currently get the cart only from CEX for just £18. That totals £34. They sell this game complete for £45. I did say complete, however I should have said box. There's no guarantee with CX that it would even turn up complete. So not only have I got a saving of £9, I've also guaranteed that I've got a nice complete copy. Okay, so this last example is more of a heavy hitter, and I wanted to show this just to prove how much money you can save by purchasing video games via this method, and that is one that I showed on last week's vlog, Terra Enigma. This much beloved action RPG, which is part of the Quintet trilogy, now commands a very high price indeed. I paid roughly £88 for this box, and there's no manual in here either. This is purely for an empty cardboard box. Now that's sure to raise a few eyebrows, right? Spending almost £100 on what is essentially an empty piece of cardboard. However, I'm going to give you guys now the facts and figures to show why I think that was a shrewd investment. So as I say, just last week I paid roughly £88 for this box only. You can currently pick up the cartridge from CEX for 115. That gives you a total of 205. However, there is an asterisk with that because we're still missing a manual. However, I still think it's a fantastic deal. CEX are currently charging £290 for a box version of this. You won't find many of these games in stock, and if they are in stock, I can almost guarantee you there will not be a manual, otherwise they would already be in the hands of a collector. This game often commands between £300 and £400 on eBay, so theoretically for me to have the game and the box for £205, that would almost put £100, if not more so, value on the manual. I personally don't value any instruction booklet at £100 plus. Hey, each to their own. But personally, if I can get the game and the box for £200 and live in hope that maybe I'll find a manual down the line for a decent price, I'll take that all day. I also think it's important to point out that I personally would never go out and spend £300 or £400 on a video game in one go. If you can, and if you do, more power to you. Me personally, it's not the way I like to collect video games. I like to do it a little bit more shrewd than that. And hey, I'm tight, right? So if I can go out and spend £100 on a box, down the line spend £100 on a cartridge, for me that's a lot more palatable, and it's the only way that I will realistically be getting these heavy hitters into my collection. I did a very similar thing with the most expensive video game I have in my collection, Super Hagane. I actually bought the box and then separately bought the cartridge and then the manual. So I pieced all three components of this together separately and I had a massive saving by doing so. Ultimately, like I so often say on these videos, there's no right or wrong way to collect video games. You do what makes you happy. If you want to go out there and buy a mint video game complete with a map, poster, precautions booklet, more power to you. I understand completely why you wouldn't want the headache of scrolling through listings and trying to find each individual component. Me personally, I love that side of things. I love the wheeling and the dealing. I love going the extra inch to try and get that steal, to try and get these games at a lesser than market value. And trust me, when you're sitting there and one day you get a notification of that booklet that you've been after for years, it's like winning the lottery, trust me. You can finally piece it all together. I absolutely love that feeling. And like I've already said, a lot of these games I wouldn't own had I had to go out and spend hundreds of pounds on them in one go. So whilst ultimately you might not spend quite as much cash doing it this way, one thing you are going to need in abundance is patience. If you've got patience, I highly recommend this tip. As always, I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. Let me know in the comments if this is a method that you guys have utilised, and let me know which bargains you've been able to piece together by doing this. Play your games, keep it retro. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Retro Ghetto.